So his last book made it to my personal top 10 favorite books of a lifetime. And I do not say this because I know him. I feel like enough people should have read that book. And if you watch this video and you've not read the book, stop. Don't even finish the video. Go get that one. That book was called Deshi Basara. I made a video about it that has gone a bit haywire. You should definitely check it out. But today, I'm here talking to him about his new book. One that, from a writer to a writer, baffles me, and I wonder where he got the inspiration from. The book is called Up is Down and Down is Up. Up is down and down is up. And I want to start the conversation. I'm not even going to introduce him yet. I'm going to introduce him in the middle of the conversation somewhere, very intentionally, because I want you to hear the man and his ideas and his concepts and his understandings of the laws of the universe, and then you can get to know who the man is. There's a quote in the book that has given me sleepless nights, and I want us to start from there.
Okay.
By the way, welcome, Dr. Omani.
Thank you.
I'm sure all of the writings has told you I'm in a conversation with Dr. Omani. But you say that the modern man cannot find God because they do not look low enough.
Yeah.
Let's start from there. What are you saying?
So what I'm saying is that greatness,
Right.
height, excellence actually comes paradoxically. Now, you can look at commonplace, like a skyscraper.
Right.
Okay. The first and the most important part of it is the depth.
Right.
Not necessarily how high it's going. If there is no depth, then the height would become impossible.
Right.
Now, let's take the story of Jesus.
Right.
Now, everyone would have thought that someone as important as he was would have probably been born in the palace.
Yeah.
But he was not found in the palace. He was found in the manger.
Right.
With cattle, with sheep, with goats, etc.
Right.
Now, everyone thought, like, let's say, if it was in Ghana, he would probably be maybe like East Legon, Trasacco Valley, Airport Hills, etc., etc. But he grew up somewhere in Galilee, at the spice town.
Right.
Now, it goes or stretches from just from the planes of religion to even psychoanalytic theory.
Right.
That says that, if you're looking for gold, you find it covered in feces.
Right.
So, and I know you, if you probably watch the Disney stories, you realize that they always paint this picture of a princess having to kiss a frog.
Yes.
And the frog turns into a prince. Now, that's a very deep story. It means that before you would find your prince, you would probably have to locate a frog. And that what you are really looking for is found where you are least likely to look.
Jordan speaks about this when he talks about the dragon with the gold, and he speaks specifically about this. And I think that it's also part of the language of the age and the time and the season we're in, and that moves me right in. But first, is this a religious book or is it for everyone?
So, religion has the principles that undergird it.
Right.
And once you are able to sort of localize the principles, you realize that the principles are universal principles. They do not, because religion is life, spirituality is life.
Right.
Okay, we are spirit beings. So at the very essence of our lives, are spiritual principles which transcend spirits into body and soul. So they affect virtually everybody. Yes, and everything. Yeah, I'll say they are universal principles.
I'll come back so we talk about the writing process, because I teach this concept of copyright, which is knowing the right way to copy. I want to eat into your brain and understand how, so that my next book, they will feel the magic. But I did mention, on that note, the wisdom of the age of the time. You speak about the wisdom of water.
Water, yes.
In the book.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So, you know about the elements.
Yes.
Fire, water, earth, wind. Now, water covers about 70% of the Earth's surface. Okay. Now, the total body weight of a newborn baby, 80% of that is water.
Wow.
So, like, if you're carrying a baby,
you are carrying a big bubble of water.
You're just carrying a big bubble of water. Now, when you look at the adult man or adult woman, about 60% of their weight is water. Okay, so we are looking at one of the most dominant forces that constitutes a man,
Yeah.
and one of the most dominant forces on the surface of the earth.
Right.
Okay, now there's a principle with water.
Right.
Water descends first.
Very interesting. Water
Descends
descends first. Let's scratch that further.
So the things that ascend
right.
first descend. So trees first, they have deep roots and then they go up. Skyscrapers first go down, first go up. Water descends, fills the lowest portions of the earth,
Right.
and then it rises. So the principle in the universe is that if you want to go very high up, you must first have deep roots. Otherwise, if you ascend without depth, it's just a matter of time.
Right.
When the winds blow, the storms come, you'll be blown away.
Why did we write this book? What inspired it? And then take time to walk me through the writer's journey. So if I'm reading this book, what's your ultimate aim for me? That how should I enjoy the book? How should I read it? Should I go and read some chapters before some others? Should I read some twice and then come back to this? Because I know from your first book that your books are not books you just read in one layer, just one way. You will miss so many nuggets and gems. I have, interestingly, with Deshi Basara, the first, I think, 12 or 11 pages, I get stuck there. There's so much that's in there. How should somebody approach this new one?
So I think the passion should be like water. Should be open. Okay, so part of my thinking process for writing this book, I was studying a lot of things. I mean, the wisdom of water, but also studying someone like Napoleon.
Right.
You know, there are two main types of warfare. There's attrition warfare, and there's maneuver or campaign warfare.
Right.
So with attrition warfare, it's like you either you have a mighty army. So maybe like the Pacific Ocean battle between the USA and Japan.
Right.
You know, you beat them, hammer them, destroy them totally because you are a mighty force.
Right.
Or then you cut off their resources. So like after a while, it's like they are depleted of food, etc., and then they give up. Now the other type of warfare is maneuvering or campaigning. So it's like you are a very small army. How do you defeat a large army?
Right.
So Napoleon was one of the first generals, and Napoleon is the general with the highest number of battle victories. I mean, from 1793, that's the siege of Toulon, to about 1815, that's the Battle of Waterloo. He has like about 75 battle victories.
That's insane.
Yes, that's insane. And he was one of the first people to sort of have a great organization when it comes to warfare.
Right.
And once he hears there's going to be war, you know the first thing he does? He asks for his librarian. So then he studies the war because he's going to make use of a small army and he's going to move them in position so that he's going to use that little numbers or whatever he has to defeat whatever you are coming against him with. It's the same thing that Alexander the Great used when he invaded Persia. You realize that the Persian army was far greater than his army. Darius had a very sophisticated system. So what he did was that he conquered the little towns around Persia gradually. So his army had amassed and surrounded the Persian system, and then he invaded them. So thinking about that and thinking about water, then I realized that there's actually a paradox in terms of the way we see things. That consistently, both in the business corporate world and in life, the Davids are able to overcome the Goliaths, but not with the same strategy of force, but with a certain paradoxical power. So it's more like force versus power, or power versus force.
Right.
And I realized that this principle was littered throughout the scriptures. Like you look at the life of Jesus, and then you look at water. Then I just realized that, okay, so we're not dealing with something that's isolated. It's something that's scattered across. Only if you can see it. But if you go with the norm of force, push, hit hard, because you see, if I give you a rock and I give you a water and ask you which one is harder, now most people would think that the rock is harder than the water.
Yes.
But a rock cannot break water. But with enough time, water cuts through
easily.
Even with enough time, water cuts through steel. But steel doesn't break water. A rock doesn't break water. Nothing breaks water, but water cuts through all. So it's a paradoxical nature of calmness, softness, patience, yet cutting through the hardest material in the universe.
So I think the question then will be, if I'm reading this book, how do I now take it and practicalize it in a way that I can draw from the knowledge wells of the author and then apply it in my life? Because now that you're saying it, everything is connecting. The light bulbs are going ding, 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 ding. But for the average person, for the everyday person, for anybody who picks the book, I am understanding the principle. It's littered across nature. The signature is everywhere in the universe. How do I practicalize this for myself?
Okay, so I can give you about 2 to 3 things.
Talk to me.
So there's a chapter called Value Small Things or Value Little Things. So it's that most great things actually start as insignificant things. So there's a principle in the Bible that says that the mustard seed is very small. It's about 1 millimeter.
Right.
But when it's sown, when it's planted, it grows to become the largest tree.
Right.
Now, most great companies like Apple started in a garage, 2 people. Amazon, 5 people. Most great things are so small that it's easy to say that, it won't work. Or it's easy to gloss over them. I tell a story of a real life story of 2 ladies talking about a gentleman, and then rubbishing the guy, writing him off, etc. Because the guy was obviously nothing. There was nothing showing, nothing glorious about him at that point in time. But later on, the guy got his act together and he rises. And that's the nature. That's a circle. So value little things. Value your 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And work with it.
Right.
Don't think that to overcome a mountain, I need a mountain. No. If you have faith as a mustard seed, if you have something small and you work with it, you have that little, you work with it, then you use that to get. Okay, so that's the first principle.
Right.
Value any little thing that you have. The next principle is be careful about the things that you despise, because that could be where the opportunity actually lies. Ooh. And then be scared of where everybody is going to, because that could be where the mistake is.
So, I told you guys, I wonder how he writes it, man. These are, again, and I want to give you an opportunity to drive that concept and idea home. But I wanted to ask a very simple question. For everything you've told me so far, does it in that way render forcefulness or big things ineffective?
It's a mirage. So we see mountains as very big things, but mountains are overcome by the smallest seeds.
Right.
Big corporations are always overcome. I mean, with the Esther Long effect.
Right.
You realize that big corporations are collapsed by very small ideas. And as I said, the Davids of the world continually overcome the Goliaths of the world, but not with the Goliath strategy.
Right.
Goliath came to David with a sword and a spear. David came with a stone, small pebbles. So the wisdom that you need to overcome the mountain before you is actually something small, a small idea. But usually what people are looking for, they're looking for a great move.
Now, this is amazing because it's the seemingly insignificant things. It's the insignificant moments. It's when you really start paying attention to it. But there's something you mentioned that I really, really want us to knock at. Do not go where everybody is going, because
that's a red ocean. So there's something called the blue ocean strategy.
Right.
So you find something that no one has ever gone there before. And that's what I talk about, eureka ideas.
Right.
It's like you are able to create a niche, create a market that you are the monopoly. By the time it was like Bill Gates with Microsoft, Apple, what they did to music, they totally changed the music industry.
Right.
And by the time everyone had woken up to it, they were the bosses. Gone. Yes. And the same thing that's happening consistently in the IT world, in what's happening with AI. Like people are constantly, bringing up these new ideas and collapsing the old paradigms and the old empires.
Wow. Yes. Let's talk a little bit for commercial reasons. When is the book coming out? How are we going to be able to get it? A little bit about that. two more questions.
Okay.
Give me 3 of your favorite lines in the book.
So
and maybe expound a little on them.
So the first one is modern man cannot see God because
Because
he
they don't
doesn't
look
look low
low
enough. It's
enough.
actually a quote by Carl Jung.
Right.
And he was exploring how come, all these atheistic movements, and he said that the God of the old is still the God of the new. Just that in our pride, we sort of disconnect ourselves with the obvious spirituality. And as I said, people think spirituality is maybe mumbo jumbo somewhere, some leaves here, some this, but it's
the sensationalism of it.
Yes, it's your essence. We are spiritual beings having a bodily experience, an earthly experience, but at the core of your nature, you're a spiritual being. So that life, that given, that expression in the universe is actually the spiritual journey.
Right.
So he was of the view that there's absolutely no way that you could sort of disconnect man from spirituality. Yes, I mean he talked about dreams, esoterics. I mean we would go. So that's one of my
line number 1. Line number 2.
So let me just cut in and just talk about the spirit of the present age.
Right.
It's like an observation that I realized with personally myself and personally everyone, or just a few people around me.
Right.
I realized that once you become a bit independent,
right,
you move out of your father's house and you start living your life, it's very easy to become sort of defiant of authority or rebellious in the bid to sort of establish yourself or establish who you are, gain expression in the world. But then I realized that that's actually not wisdom. You see, I'm always thinking paradoxically. Yeah, so it's like I can take from maybe like my relationship with my parents.
Yes.
They say one thing, I say the other. Say one thing, then one day I realized that no, what I'm doing is actually not wise. It's actually when you look at the whole like Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and then you read some of these ancient books on wisdom. There's a saying in those ancient books and also with the mafia society that the student must learn to obey, and then after he's learned to obey, he will command. The same thing that Hermes says that when the student is ready, the masters appear. Because you see, there are always two groups of people: in the students or the apprentice, and then the master.
Right.
But the only way the master is accessed is when the student becomes humble.
Right.
Once the student is proud, he has false knowledge because he's not a master. Yeah.
Tight. Chimo. Wow. So please, I'm not the one shaking tables. I'm just guiding the conversation that is shaking tables. If your table is broken, sit on the floor, put your hand on your head until you find a chair. What? Okay, it's okay. We've given them too much. We're not giving them it. We've given them so much. But you still owe me one last line. Your last favorite line. I have 2 more questions, and then we can run out of here.
Value little things, small things, despise things.
Value little things, small things,
despise
and despised things.
Yes.
Personal curiosity. What's your writing process like? Do you get a big idea?
No, start small.
No, I say again. It's okay.
I start so small that it's ridiculous.
How small?
I was writing this book when I was writing my specialization exams. So as I learn, when I'm tired, I just write one line.
You see? Wow.
Yeah. So if you come and see me writing one line, I'll look very foolish to you.
Right.
Yeah. But I know that if I keep up that one line for a month or 2, I'll have chapters. Yes. But someone would want to sit down and write one whole chapter.
That's me. So my last book, almost 1 year, they never write. I have a big title. I have a big working title. The book never writes. Because I'm looking for, I need to unplug. And this book is for me. Up is down. Down is up. It's so simple and small. I understand why it's the title of the book. It sounds so super cliche. It doesn't look like the title of something that would contain the kind of gems.
Yeah.
And when I started seeing the chapters and the titles of the various chapters, I'm like, that's why they say you cannot judge a book by its. This is one of those ones.
I mean, there's a chapter that I call kindergarten, and I try to explain why children are more creative than adults. Because children think mostly paradoxically.
Right.
Yeah. What adults think are foolish, children find exciting.
Absolutely. Yes. So, oh shush. All right, guys. So, I hope I've done enough here. And I brought the conversation. You know where to find the details of how to get the book out rolling on whatever screen it is you're watching this on. Thank you for making time with us. You could have been anywhere else in the world. His name is Dr. Omane. For those of us who are close to him, we call him a sage. And there's a reason why we do that. He's a personal brother. Shout outs to all of those in the background that made this happen. Shout outs to Mr. Dua Mekpo, the creative god. And shout outs to the man that runs one of the top media groups in this country. His name is Kodet. He will never post himself on Instagram. I don't know which is following him. Enjoy the rest of your day. What's the final words to everybody?
Down is up and up is down.
Cheers everyone.